Hey everybody, this is JP Hunt and Kevin Houchin.
Hello.
And today we have an exciting guest and exciting topic. In fact, we're going to put Jeremy on the spot to introduce today's topic and kind of give a quick bio and background before we get into today's podcast. So, Jeremy, we're going to turn it over to you and we're going to put you on the spot to give us that rapid bio and kind of inform us of your background.
Yeah, so the topic I think that we're gonna to dive into is tips on outsourcing products and services outside of your core competency. And so, kind of why I brought this up when we were talking about the podcast is my whole business is kind of built off of outsourcing most everything that we do. There's three core things that we'll go into detail about what my main offerings are. But, my background, I've been in custom apparel since the early 90s. I'm not that old, but my
You
brother,
don't look that old.
it's a shaved head. It makes me look younger.
Ah, I'll have to go back to that, I think.
Yeah, my brother went to college in Southern California, and he helped start a action sports kind of skateboarding brand back in the early 90s. And so he was their production manager, and he's 11 years older than me. So in junior high, every break I would get, Christmas, summer break, I would go out to California and visit him. And he would just take me to all his different vendors and manufacturers and cut and sew facilities and screen printers, working in the back of the warehouse, kind of shipping and receiving. And so from an early age, I was around the apparel world. I never wanted to go this route. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. I love tinkering. I love trying to figure out how things were built. But then once I took calculus 2, I said, forget this.
At least you made it to calculus 2. It was
Exactly.
calculus 1 that knocked me out of aerospace. So,
Yeah, so I was like, this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. But from junior high to college, I would always go and help my brother. I would take an RV with a couple other guys, and we would tour the whole country during the summer and go to all the music festivals, selling their merchandise, setting up their booth. Just kind of have a little live trade show every week around the country. So I kind of love the music world. I loved the live event space, and I'm like, this is something I could do. So after I graduated college, I went to go work for my brother's clothing line full time. And as I was moving out to California, I get a call from my brother, and he's like, hey man, I quit today. And I was like, are you serious? I just moved my whole life to go, to work with you guys. And yeah, I have a job. I don't have a job now. So I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And my brother produced merchandise for bands. And so he connected me with a merch company out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I got a job doing that, being on the road as a merch guy, managing money on the road. I did that for 10 years. And then after my wife was like, you can't travel anymore. You gotta, if you want to be with me, you gotta get a normal job, whatever that means. So I quit the road and I started my company Amber in 2008.
Perfect.
awesome.
So, Jeremy, you cut your teeth in the merch space, decorated apparel space by obviously spending 10 years on the road selling band merch.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit, sort of unpack, your experience, developing, your merch skills, traveling, dealing with bands who obviously have very distinct brands and audiences. So give us some perspective on how you took that 10 years of experience and how that kind of shaped your perspective as it relates to, retail oriented apparel trends and these sort of events, since that's where you were transacting, the band merch.
Yeah, so I was with major label bands, and so we had a large audience, from 4 to 30,000 people every show. So it was a good tester of, when we brought out new merch, was it a new album? And because we were in a different city, basically every day, every other day, I really got a sense of, buying patterns and how something would sell in the Southeast versus the Northwest. And so I was working with the merch company that was designing and producing all the merchandise, shipping it to me on the road, and kind of getting that instant feedback from on the retail perspective from the fans of, oh, I would like to see this, or I wish you offered this, and I would be able to communicate with the merch company, and they would be able to, within a couple weeks, test it out, send it to me on the road, and I would get some live data to see what would work. And so, one thing I really got to see is that emotional purchase of, they had a great time at the concert, they were with their friends, there's a lot of energy and memories you can go home with, but the merchandise was something tangible that you could go away. And I learned, over time that, that can be applied to any company. It doesn't have to be just for the band world. And so when I ended up starting Amber, I really wanted to bring that philosophy of merchandise mainly to nonprofits. I started off in the band world, but my real passion was wanting to help nonprofits, fundraise and use these live events that they're doing to fuel kind of their fundraising efforts. And so being able to take that retail side of things, a lot of times when I'm talking to potential clients or just sharing, my experience, I come from the retail and the fashion world versus, manufacturing and supply world. And so that's one of my differentiators, because I see, supply isn't necessarily people's problem. It's how do you create demand for something? How do you keep people wanting to come back? And so, building my company, I wanted to take kind of a different perspective than just, hey, I can print your shirts.
And how do you articulate that different perspective to your clients to differentiate yourself in a really highly competitive market?
Yeah, so it's hard at times because I'm not the manufacturer. A lot of people, they want to go direct to the source, which I completely understand. But for me, I'm telling people that you could go to the same print shop I work with, but I'm going to create a better product than you're going to be able to create, even if the artwork's the same, just because, I do know the technical side, not super deep, but I do know, mesh counts and squeegees and passes and inks and all of these little things that make a better product, a softer shirt. And so, for my customer, I'm saying supply is not your issue. You can go online. There's 1,000 printers. You can go, to Custom Ink and these other online providers and get a shirt made. But again, that's not the problem. Getting people to wear the shirt is the true, problem that I'm trying to solve. And so part of it is on that design side, where if I'm designing, I want to do the full package, but then if I have to work with someone's design, how can I elevate that garment to be more retail worthy? I like to tell them, I'm politely opinionated, that I'm going to, if I think something's, ugly, or that color's not going to work, or I don't see females wearing this sort of garment, I'm going to tell them, because I know more than they do. And I think that's a lot of times we struggle, is like we want to please a customer, but at the end of the day, me and screen printers and people in our industry, we're the experts, and we need to kind of be bold and help our customers make a better product, because if it doesn't sell and it sits on the shelf, it does them no good, and it does you no good, because you're not getting reorders. And at the end of the day, most likely they're going to blame you anyways if it doesn't sell. So it's worth putting in that little extra effort to help them make a better retail worthy, or a product that, or merchandise that gets worn.
And of course, not every customer is concerned with being sort of retail oriented, but suppose if you're a decorator or print shop and you have that perspective as you're consulting and laying out product options, retail presentation and finishing also comes with retail pricing. So it seems like you're making the point that if you adopt this philosophy in consultation, it could come along with differentiating, but also potentially higher price points, right, for the finished product.
Yeah, and again, the finding out the true goal of the customer up front is one of the most important things, because what is their end goal. A lot of times you have to tell them, like, when they want to make a shirt, but it's like, why do you want to make a shirt? And then you talk about, making the shirt is one thing, but don't you want to get people to wear it? And so part of my philosophy, let's say with nonprofits, is if you aren't going to do it right, I understand that you have budget constraints. Nonprofits they have to be frugal at times, but
Sure.
if they're going to order a product, do it right or don't do it at all. Like, keep your money. The t-shirt isn't the right medium for you if no one's going to wear it, or if it's going to end up at a thrift store down the road and they're going to profit off of your bad t-shirt. So, that those are the things that I try to spark to get them to think more. It's more than just a t-shirt. It's meant to be worn, not thrown in the closet.
Right. Single use versus sort of renewable and evergreen, as it were.
Yeah. Then again, price is relative. Sorry, price is relative. So, I can make an awesome shirt out of 1 to 2 colors versus, a corporate logo with an underbase. The price isn't going to be any different. It's making them that better product. And again, if they're not retailing it, if they're just giving it away, even more so to say, make that shirt as cool as possible. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money, and no one's gonna to see that. Cost per impression I've been using a lot lately to really show them that it's not just about that price. You could pay $4 for a shirt, but if it only gets worn once, your cost per impression is $4. But if you spend a couple more dollars on a nicer shirt, softer ink, or some of those retail finishes, and someone wears it 10 times, the cost per impression is a fraction of that investment. So finding the people that understand the financial side of things is important when trying to work with a company, in my opinion.
Right. Exactly. Well, let me ask you, kind of turning focus to the topic at hand. You obviously have a lot of expertise as it relates to sourcing and outsourcing, products and services that might not be in your direct wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
So, getting into the matter at hand, the topic at hand, rather, let's talk about your perspective on, whether to produce in house or whether to outsource. Kind of the pros and cons, just your perspective at large as it relates to, sourcing.
And then how you make the decisions and how you help the clients decide what product mix is best for them in the context of what you can do yourself versus what you need to outsource.
Yeah. So my philosophy's changed over the years, just as I've gained more experience and I've matured. And, as running a business, that's the tough part, and I know everyone struggles with that, but really finding out, what are you for? Most people are small. They don't have a ton of employees. And so, I've dealt with hundreds of screen printers over my years, and I see a similar struggle. They need to keep those presses running. They need to keep an efficient shop. They need to watch their overhead, and they don't necessarily have time to help that customer along. Well, how can you again create more value for that customer is by, one, helping them make a better product, giving them ideas, helping them ideate, because again, I know you can't do this for every customer, but I always like to say, at least start on your top 20% of your clients to really put more into their order or into their project. And so for me, my strong suit, people have asked, hey, have you ever thought about buying a print shop or acquiring someone? But even if I did, yes, margins might be better at times, but I'm going to lose the focus on that customer. So for my core competencies are design, creative development, and customer service and sourcing. So those three being my core kind of services, everything else I've outsourced to the experts in their particular fields. I have 5 embroiderers, I have 4 screen printers, I have label manufacturers, I have applique. And so I'm able to cherry pick off the best that I found to offer my customers this kind of full package. But, for shops that, all they do is screen print, and the thing I learned, I never wanted to get into promotional products. I wanted to focus on, the whole 80/20. I wanted to focus on t-shirts and hoodies and offer everything possible within that realm. But as time went on and accounts didn't necessarily grow, I saw that they were buying all these other things from other people. So for me, it was that natural progression of, well, they like working with me for their apparel, they're going to like me for drinkware and bags and headwear and all these other items. And so until, it's only been 4 years since I branched out into the promotional side. And since I started that to now, my company's doubled, and most of it is from promotional side of things. And so learning to, the whole promotional industry, mainly the distributors, everything's outsourced. They don't make one product. They team up with the right suppliers to do that. So, one thing I've seen is at least screen printers, I think competition is so fierce that they're scared that going out beyond their four walls, is gonna open them up to, more competition, to where if they're partnering with someone, they're gonna know their clients, blah blah blah. But really, you're missing out on a whole slew of sales because you're not offering these products. And from my experience, the margins are going to be better when you're outsourcing, because you don't have 20 people touching a t-shirt. If you're outsourcing a drinkware or, custom patches on hats, they're doing all the hard work. At the end of the day, again, my whole business is built off of that. So being able to say, well, here's my core, I'm a screen printer, or I do screen print and embroidery, or, I do heat transfers and DTG, is you need to offer more, because as these bigger companies grow, they're going to do all of it. And so just you offering that screen printing isn't a value anymore, because the guy down the street does screen printing and hats and water bottles. And they're like, well, I just want that one-stop shop.
So since our audience is primarily screen printers and embroiderers and other decorators, generally in the apparel side of things, and there is that pressure to start being more of a full service, boutique marketing agency. Actually, how would you suggest for somebody that is a screen printer and embroiderer primarily entering into more of the full service market to set themselves apart and be a bit more distinctive?
Yep. So, one thing, finding that a local person first. For me, I don't care if you're local or not. I want local teams that, it's a lot easier to manage them. But as a screen printer, find an embroiderer locally, and you might have to do some digging. And most people, it's a small knit community, so you kind of know of these other people. And finding that right embroiderer that is open to partnering, there's a win-win, because you can outsource embroidery to them, and then you can open it up to where they can start offering their customers screen printing and outsource it to you. When the customer picks up the shirt, they're not necessarily saying, hey, I want to go back and watch it. Some people like the actual, behind the veil of seeing things made. But at the end of the day, the end customer wants it accurate. They want it, in budget, and then they want it on time. So thinking that they care about those things, ask your customers about that. But really being able to find that right partner. And again, starting small, you're going to have, because of some of those unknowns that you aren't an expert in embroidery, you're going to have to rely on that partner to, to be like your production manager, is ask them the right questions. Your screen printing timeline, what customers expect. You just have to set up those standards with that partner. And then, as you will be shocked that just by offering embroidery to your current client base, you're going to get all this new business. You're going to be able to get it, you're already ordering the garments, so you can, if they're a contract, you can send those garments to them and they're going to decorate them. You're going to get them back to your shop and you're going to make more profit margin, maybe not percentage wise, but our margins are slim in this industry, for everyone for the most part. But being able to say, all right, I'm going to add $1 onto this embroidery and I'm not doing a thing other than managing the customer. You're already doing that for your screen printing business. So your customer service rep or your account executive, they're just now being able to offer a few more things. And the learning curve's tough. And I know it's scary, but you have to vet people and they might mess up and it might break the relationship. But I feel the pros outweigh the cons in the long run by offering t-shirts, are screen printed and embroidery. And then you can do multimedia for those super, customers that are ordering high volumes. You can be more creative with what you're offering them. Again, what is differentiating from you? Are you just screen printing, or are you actually solving their problem and making, building their brand, making it look better? Because again, I've seen so many people, they'll go somewhere else if it's a quarter cheaper. And that's not the way you're going to be able to sustain your business long term, because there's always going to be someone cheaper.
Jeremy, we're
Sorry.
No, I think that's great. I'm going to ask a sub question there and maybe start with some insight here. We're preparing a webinar and sort of a marketing toolkit with the notion of, if you have this range of product that's outside of your core competencies, right? You're a screen printer, you know how to screen print. But if you have access to different products, it puts you in a position where you can start to answer and frame up the question. My customer came to me, they have a marketing initiative and a marketing need. They have a graphic, and the vehicle will be various products to get that message to market, right? Mm-hmm. And fundamentally, that is what our industry does. And I think if you have this range and access to products, it puts you in a position where you can answer that question most effectively. If you're not outside of your core competency, you're only going to go to those products that are within your wheelhouse, right?
Everything's a nail.
Everything's a nail. So I think that the unintended consequence of broadening my product mix, my product portfolio, my access, forces me to respond to my customer with, hey, we believe these are the 10 best solutions to achieve your goals. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, every competitor, is peddling just t-shirts, right? They're just the t-shirt provider.
Yep.
So anyway, I guess this was more for it wasn't even a question. This is more for my benefit, preparing for my webinar. But
no, that's great.
React to that. I mean, do you have any other examples or perspective on sort of that notion?
Yeah, I mean, as we know, the barrier to entry into the screen printing or DTG world is getting lower and lower as equipment is getting cheaper, as there's more resources. So with people flooding into that marketplace, you have to differentiate yourself. And at the end of the day, the more time that you're helping that customer, the more likely they're going to come back to you. There's been so many instances when I used to only offer screen printed t-shirts. Nothing went wrong on the project. It was great, but for not being in front of them for those events, they just come back to me as, oh, we need shirts, let's get them printed, versus, hey, be our partner, help us come up with those things, like you said. And you only have to spend that time doing it up front, and then you could distribute it. Hey, here's the 10 best items for the summer, or, here, depending on your clientele, here's the best items, for fundraising. And you do some of the work up front. But then again, just like your suppliers, rely on those partners. A lot of the times, the headwear, when I'm doing applique, I'll send the artwork to my partner and say, hey, do you have any cool ideas that we could use to design this and pitch it to a customer? Is you don't have to be an expert in all of those things. You just have to know the experts, right? And being able to ask the right questions to help those customers develop that line. Or even if you don't want to touch some of the promotional side, you can still give them ideas. There's plenty of resources that you can educate your customer, even though you might not get that, that revenue from the promotional products. You're still helping them make their project or their event successful, and they're more likely, to bring more business and to tell other people about you. So I think that just starting off, screen printing, t-shirts, embroidery, and then, some accessories, you don't even have to go so deep, but the drinkware side of things. And again, I'm an apparel guy, man. I like t-shirts, hoodies, like I never want to get into that, but drinkware, I've grown in drinkware 300 to 400% in the last 2 years. Again, knowing what the industry is going, what are retail trends, the athleisure, all of these things is how can you provide more value than just saying, I'll print your design, or we can design your shirt and we'll print it. In my opinion, that's not enough at the end of the day. Especially when there's 1,000 other people around, or, if you're in a small town, only a few, but, finding those things, the deeper you can get involved in your client's business, I think the more you can grow with them, and then the longevity that they won't leave you for, that price only.
Exactly.
I've got a real practical question. So I assume that over, the past 20, 30 years that you have worked with dozens, if not hundreds of suppliers and producers for the different products, from apparel to specialty products and everything. What are the things, based on your experience now, that are just the critical elements that you look for when you are evaluating working with a new supplier, whether it's an embroiderer or a print shop or a specialty provider?
Communication is very important. When, even if it's just reaching out by email, if they don't respond to you within 48 hours, that's a red flag for me that, if I get in a situation, are they going to be good in communication? Because when things go well, it's great. But as we know in this business, there's a lot that goes wrong because there's humans involved. So, seeing their gatekeeper of their business, if they're friendly, and you can tell a lot by just one phone call or an email, is, do I want to work with this person? Are they going to make me look good? And if they don't respond to me within 24 hours or 48 hours, a lot of times I'll write them off, just because that communication is important. Because when we're in an actual project, not only do they have to do their job, they need to have that communication. I've left a lot of printers just because they lacked on that customer service side. Again, you can print a great shirt, but if it's not on time, or if you don't tell me that the supplier short shipped, then you're putting me in a bad spot. With the suppliers, the more I don't have to talk to people, the better. So, how good is their website? Are they offering, the right brands? Are they showcasing some of their products? I think suppliers have been horrible in the past of educating and getting involved in the decoration side. I know that they were just suppliers, but I feel like, Bella Canvas, and I don't know if I'm allowed to mention brands, but they've done a great job with their fam school of, hey, it's not just that t-shirt, there's a lot more to that, and knowing the decoration and even giving ideas to decorators, all because you can offer glow in the dark ink. If you are not sure how to use it, or the trending fabrics, it doesn't matter, in my opinion. So when you're finding those suppliers, it's vital to know what, seeing their quality. How to judge screen printing, but can you judge the embroidery? I mean, as a master of our craft, I guarantee if you go and see another product, you can tell if that's quality or not. So, and seeing, how big is their shop, if that matters to you. Again, I've seen some shops that had 2 presses, outdo companies that had 6 or 7 presses. So, efficiencies, taking a tour, how clean are they? That's a big thing of like, is my nice North Face jacket's going to get dirty at your shop? Like, knowing those little things that are valuable to you in your print shop, you should require that of your partners as well.
Gotcha. What other recommendations on services to outsource would you make? Do you outsource,
Yep.
should people consider outsourcing the design or, some marketing aspects of things, or, do you outsource your HR and billing functions? I mean, how do you approach those kind of relationships?
So design, I think unless you're a really big shop and you can afford a full creative team, design is going to be the most important in my opinion, because how can you can make a great shirt, but if it's a corporate logo and no one's going to wear it, obviously there's instances where that corporate logo fits, but is it a graphic tee? Like, part of people wearing it beyond that event is going to be because of the design. And a lot of times in-house shops, they have just a production artist that maybe can do some creative, but they might only have one style. I know there's a lot of companies in our industry, the old resort wear full illustrated 11 color prints. It's beautiful and it looks nice, but the majority of the industry, that's not the taste level of consumers, from what I've done on the research side. So it's great that your designer could be doing that, but you're missing out on all these other styles. And so by freelancing, so we have an in-house art director and designer, and then we freelance to other industry experts, guys and gals that know apparel. That's one big tip. If you're going to freelance, it doesn't matter how good of a designer they are. Can they design for apparel? Do they understand separations? Do they understand trends? Do they, know how ink makes a shirt more, or sorry, different colors make it more expensive, different locations. That's has been the number one that it took a few years to learn, of making sure you're freelancing, for that. And a lot of times your in-house person can do it, but if you have two or three designers that have, maybe one's a more feminine style, one's more of an illustration, one is great, with a vintage graphic, like being able to find those, because your customer. And what I tell people is, I know the marketplace, I know what people are buying, I know the design styles, but your customer. So by asking those questions to our customers, is you find out what they want and what they like, then how you can outsource that design. So I designed, for our customers for the first couple years, and I'm like, I'm not good. I can't create what I'm envisioning in my head, and so we were freelance for 6 years of my company, and I'm a design firm, quote unquote, and so it took 6 years for me to bring in someone full time, but everything was outsourced. And again, you have to set up the right communication. How are you going to use, Basecamp or, email? How are you going to communicate with them? How are you going to give them deadlines? Because at the end of the day, you have to look good to your customer and you have to keep things streamlined. So those are important things,
Yeah,
yeah.
that brings up the next question of just, when you are working with somebody that you've done the pre work on, and you feel good about their communication skills, and you say, okay, I'm going to try a project with them, or I've got a lot of projects going with them. How do you stay on top of and keep a good track record of accountability with the people that you're working with?
So especially on the design side, it's hard, like work making designers, they're creatives. They're not necessarily regimented. So like, it's like herding cats a lot of times of, oh, I went snowboarding today. And I'm like, well, that you tell me that now, like how am I supposed to communicate that to my customer? And so I think, again, as establishing those things up front for me, when I'm working with a new freelance artist, I'm expecting a lower cost, instead of them, finding their own customer, because you're finding the customer, you're dealing with the communication for the most part, where they just get a design. So one, I'm not going to pay your normal rates because I'm making it easier on you. Plus, I say I'm going to give you a 5 design package to start with. That way you can forecast, hey, you're going to get, $1,200 from me over the next month. And, as a designer, that's a good little staple when they're, when they're trying to budget, if they're solely freelance. So, setting up for me, I'm like, a sketch, we have to have a sketch within 24 hours. After the sketch is approved, we need the full design within 48 to 72 hours, depending on the complexity. Once the design's approved, or if we have revisions, we need print ready artwork and approved mock-up. We use Dropbox, so we share a Dropbox folder with them. They can upload it. We have our own template that they mock up on. And again, it's setting it up and being the puppet master. When I'm talking to my project managers, I'm like, no one's looking out for us. At the end of the day, we have to control the whole supply chain. So whether it's a design, whether it's, outsourcing marketing, whether it's outsourcing my bookkeeper or my screen printers and embroiderers, at the end of the day, no one's looking out for me. And if you go into the situation like that, you're going to be a lot less likely to get let down, and you are the captain of your ship. So you have to, if you're not organized, then you're probably not going to make, the partners that you're working with, do what you're not doing. So you have to be able to do it first, and then it's going to be a lot easier to establish those. And accountability. There's a million designers out there. There's a million partners out there. If they're not cutting it, cut them off and find someone new. But, all because something doesn't go right once doesn't mean you should abandon that. It's going to take time, just like pulling a squeegee. It took you thousands of times to perfect that. Same way with, outsourcing. So, I'm not trying to make it sound easy, but I've built my whole business off of that. And then on that promotional ad specialty side, thousands of people do that every day. It's just a matter of, is your technology getting you there? Are you having the right expectations? And are you vetting your partners?
And Jeremy, to a degree, this is more of a comment than a question, but you might have some insights. Some of these marketplaces where you can connect with freelancers and develop these partnerships. Upwork is a great example. I think one of the originators and certainly one of the bigger platforms to source creative talent and resources.
Mm-hmm.
When the economics are a public reputation with a rating, where I'm judged based on my productivity, my accountability, accuracy, all of these things. It helps folks that are looking for creative talent, whether it be a graphic designer or even somebody to tend to my own marketing needs, as a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can source and really filter and say, I want to find somebody that has billed over $100,000, that has English proficiency, 5-star ratings. So it seems like, to your point of technology, where technology sort of aligns with accountability, you have these tools that lets you make a sort of an informed decision about who you may try to speculate on, what designer you might entrust with a job. Do you have any experience with any of these platforms to source, talent or, creative resources?
Yeah, so I've used Fiverr before, again, depending on the complexity. Now Fiverr has a pro version where, it's a little more legit than all outsourcing overseas, which it used to seem, you pay $10, you're going to get what you pay for type of thing.
Exactly.
We've used 99 Designs before, but, on the design side, I don't like any of those companies because, again, they're not, I don't care if you're a graphic designer. Are you a graphic designer for apparel, embroidery products? Because as we know, it's a completely different world. And so, yes, you might get an affordable design on 99 Designs, but then, and a lot of it's on the end consumer. They go there. Like, I have customers that still go there, and then they bring it to me, and I'm like, these gradients aren't going to necessarily work when you're screen printing or embroidery. Like, there's a lot more frustration involved, when they're outsourcing to these. And so, same with our industry, it's really hard to really know, yes, they might be able to do a good design, but are they going to do a good design for screen printing and make your life easier? Are you going to, when you get it into their file, is your guy going to, or gal going to have to do all the steps and retweak all these things and spend even more time trying to get that? So that's why, for maybe, web and marketing and sales and HR, those type of websites like Upwork work because it doesn't matter what industry we're in. There's a similarity, the architecture of business and business needs. Obviously, they have to learn your industry a little bit if they're going to market you. But on the design side, I've just had too many bad experience of hiring designers that are great graphic designers or illustrators, but know nothing of screen printing and how it works. And at the end of the day, made our lives a little more difficult. So, I think having those resources, I know, the graphic solutions that you guys, am I allowed to say that?
You can absolutely plug
Okay.
InkSoft. Yeah.
So being, having those designs to help your customers, is good. But again, what is their capacity? If they have good resources and no capacity, they're still not delivering that artwork to their customers. So a lot of things that I think you could utilize is these resources of template graphics or a graphics library that you can even create for your freelancers and say, hey, here's my graphics library for you to make a faster, more affordable design for my customers. Again, the more direct communication you have with the designer, but they also have some experience in apparel is going to save you over time and deliver that better product, to your customers.
Exactly. Well, Jeremy, we're coming up at near the hour. I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. Do me a favor. I mean, you're turning out awesome content on LinkedIn and your social channels. So tell our listeners where they can tune in to read about, some of the tips and tricks you have, that correspond with your expertise.
Yeah, so I'm most active on LinkedIn. Jeremy Picker with Amber Creative. You can most likely find me there. Twitter, I'm at JW Picker, Picker. When I started putting myself out there and posting more content, I was doing it so I could get more customers and go to that end consumer. But what I found is that people in our industry are really gravitating towards my content. So, I'm kind of going with it because I have a lot to say. I'm opinionated. I'm
Politely opinionated.
Politely opinionated, sometimes a little more so than others. But, my goal and my life goal is to help people make better merchandise. And I realized I can't service everybody. I'm a small bean in this whole pod. So how can I help others in our industry make better t-shirts, create better designs, be more creative, be experts, really being partners for our customers, not just printers. And so I'm constantly posting on ways to make a better design. How do you use a trip to the mall to inspire, a line for your customers? So I think a lot of people in our industry get stuck doing widgets. T-shirt becomes a widget and they're just churning it out and not thinking about it. And, it's t-shirts are meant to be worn. It can be a widget, but it shouldn't be a widget. There's a lot of other things that could be widgets. So, I'm always, looking for collaborations, being on this podcast. I'm super stoked to have that opportunity and, be able to share what I've learned, and hopefully it can help others in your audience, again, make a better product. At the end of the day, it's t-shirts, but if you are going to differentiate yourself as the market gets more saturated, you're going to have to expand. And, if you can keep it in-house, awesome. But most likely you're going to have to outsource to at least get knowledge of those things. And you just got to start, you're going to have to experiment. Again, you're going to fail, but you better start now before it becomes too late.
I think that's really good advice. And I think one thing that just came to mind, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm considering whether to embrace Jeremy's advice and start to consider outsourcing things and building a better product mix and better access to products, it seems like one of the fundamental questions an entrepreneur ought to ask is this activity in my business, is it a payroll activity? So there's overhead involved. Is it something I can monetize? So I think the proposition of, hey, I have an awesome graphics designer on staff. we
Mhm.
can charge for that as a service. People are willing to pay and compensate us for that. So it's not overhead. So I think rationally, I could look at things internally and say, is this a cost? Is this overhead? Or is this something we monetize and adds a tremendous amount of value, and use that as a way to make a decision about where I should start to prioritize as it might relate to outsourcing. Do
Yeah.
you have anything to add to that? Is that
Yeah.
off base?
Yeah. So, for me, charging for artwork is very important, in my opinion. Is, a lot of people offer free art, but the artwork is the very first thing someone sees. That before they touch the shirt, before they feel how soft the print is, they're judging right then, do I like this design or do I not like this design? And for me, I could give my VIPs free art, no problem, but I want them to value artwork. I want them to value creative ideas, because that, again, it's aesthetically pleasing. If you're fashion forward or not, if you're retail or not, we all know why we like something, and it's usually, visually. Some people don't care, but the majority of people, when they go to put on a shirt in the morning, they want something that makes them feel good or represents their brand in a way that's not necessarily a billboard. So I
That's
always, if
look.
you can charge for art, I would, because again, I think it's, people think it's, oh well, I'm going to get this business because I'm offering free artwork. I think there's other ways to go about it to get that customer, by showing them the value of good artwork.
And I think sort of culturally, internally inside of a business, it's hard to get the team to respect the value that you're offering and serving to customers if you're not monetizing it, right? If you're giving it away, intrinsically it must have less value. It's a freemium. So it's refreshing to hear that, because we do oftentimes see decorators advertising no setup fees, no artwork service fees, and at the end of the day, they're just diminishing what really is. Sounds like you would agree. The core value is awesome creative, awesome graphics that help convey brands and messaging and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I know, if you do the whole full package where design's included, doing it that way. But again, when you tell, people it's free artwork, they devalue it,
Exactly.
and they come to expect it more. And I've lost customers because the guy down the street gives them free artwork, and so I said, "Have fun, see you later." Because
Hopefully they come
again,
back. Yeah.
you can't, you don't want every customer. You should find out who you are, what you value, what you want your customers to value, because you can go deeper within a certain niche of people that value, and instead of trying to be all things to all people, and you're just watering down what you bring to the table.
Totally. Well, Jeremy, I think the biggest challenge in getting this podcast lined up was choosing the topic, because you served up so many awesome titles and subject matters. So my hope is we can get you back on the podcast, or even do maybe a co-webinar together in the future. We're going to link all your social channels, in the show notes and the blog posting that will correspond to this podcast. We
Okay.
encourage all of our listeners, check out the content that Jeremy's producing. It's amazing that you're offering it for free. So thanks for that service.
Yeah.
And certainly, follow Jeremy and dig into his advice, his insights, his experience, and there's certainly a lot to learn. We thank you for that.
No, thank you. I had a great time. Anytime you want me back, I'll be on that. We, like you said, we have plenty of stuff to talk about. And one thing, sorry, I wanted to add is, on the marketing side, you don't necessarily have to hire a marketing person. There's probably enough young people in your staff or someone on your team that would be gladly to take that over, and giving them allotted time to help your brand on the internet, because social media is where the future, it's not going anywhere. That's where people are gravitating towards. So if you have, whether it's your customer service person or someone in the back of the shop, give them reins to your social media, and they'll be doing it, and you don't necessarily have to hire someone at all to do that. You have plenty of people in-house that could do that, maybe not full time, but just at least to be consistent and get yourself out there and show people what's behind, your website, and bringing that personality out. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, my takeaway from this from Jeremy is be bold.
Be bold.
Be
Yeah.
bold.
Yep. Be confident that you're the expert. The customer, they're not the expert. We are. We're doing this all day, every day, and we have to have that confidence to be able to voice that opinion and experience.
One of my favorite quotes about expertise is that an expert doesn't always have the answers. The expert knows where to find the answers.
That aligns with our
Yes, I
title.
love that.
Way to bring us home, Kevin.
I'm trying.
Well, Jeremy, thank you again. Look forward to our next podcast together. Appreciate it.
Thanks, JP. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.